Welcome back to another episode of the Forces Employment Charity, the podcast. I am your host, Catherine, and throughout our podcast series, we explore the incredible stories, insights, and resources that empower service leavers, veterans, reservists, and their families in their quest for meaningful careers and fulfilling lives. Today, we are diving into a very unique experience of military and young people as they navigate the complexities of education and career planning. Joining us today are Ruby and her advisor from the Forces Employment Charity, Kelly Wales. Ruby, Kelly, thank you both for being here today. Ruby, could you just start by telling our listeners a bit about yourself and your background as a military child?
Yeah, so I'm 18 years old and I've been a military child since the age of 5. I've moved houses 7 times and I've been to 6 schools throughout that time.
You said you relocated 7 times. I can't imagine what that was like, honestly. I really can't because I grew up in Malaysia, so I spent 25 years in Malaysia from when I was 1 years old and 1 year old. Norway is not home to me. It's hard for me. Actually, this is a great question. Where is it hard for you to answer the question, where is home? Because I know it's the UK, but I know you've moved a lot within the UK. But that question to me, when someone asks me that, I stumble because I don't know where it is. I mean, moving to London for me was a massive culture shock for me. Even though London is probably one of the biggest melting pot of cultures that you can actually get, but I still feel out of place here for some reason. So, looking at you, I look up to you because, you've managed all this resilience and adaptability, but, I don't know how you do it, and it's incredible, and hats off to you. But, the question, where is home, is still a struggle for me. Does that apply to you as well?
It's definitely a big struggle. I think I mainly have family in Peterborough, which is where I mainly come from, like my mum's side. However, due to like moving around so much, it starts to not feel like home sometimes. And
Mhm.
I think it's really hard to remember where home is and what that feels like because you're never really there.
Yeah. No,
And
exactly.
that's
Sorry,
a big
Kelly.
question, Catherine. So when re- lots of people said this, you can't ask a military child where they're from because
Mhm.
they don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my son the other day was in the front seat. He was just like, "Where am I from?"
Wow.
I was like, "Well, you were born here, but you're not really from anywhere."
Mm.
And I think that's quite a hard thing. I mean, I can tell you where I'm from, where I was born, where I stayed, but yeah, that's a really tough question for a
It
military
is.
child.
Yeah, and it really makes you think, but then, from an outsider's perspective, or well, not really, because I struggle with that question too, like I said, but
Mm.
from my perspective, it's I've managed to learn to call home where friends and family are. So I've my social life is really, my husband is home. He's
Yeah.
home. So if we move to a different country today, it's still home because my husband's with me or the friends that I make. So it's really how you perceive it in the end. But yeah, it is a very tough question.
I think the most unique thing is being able to experience like new cultures, especially when you're able to have the ability to move abroad and experience, a new life as well as being in the UK as well in your home country.
Absolutely. And I don't know if I'm just going to go off topic for a bit, but have either of you heard of the term third culture kids or TCKs?
Not until you said to me the other day, Catherine. Yeah.
So basically, third culture kids or third culture individuals, they are people who were raised in a culture other than their parents or the culture of their country of nationality and also live in a different environment during a significant part of their child development years. So it's a sociology term. And third culture kids, they can be military kids, immigrant kids, refugee children, diplomats kids, international business kids. So any child who has grown up outside of their parents' home country. And as a result of kind of this globalization of our world, the TCK population is rapidly growing. So I'm really interested to hear your experience as a military child and how do you think your level of exposure to all these different cultures, whether living on or off base, has impacted your sense of identity and adaptation to new environments?
I think it's definitely helped me become more adaptable to new environments, especially ones that are so adverse from like, moving to different country and stuff like that. But I think even just like generally like moving around the UK, it's helped to realize that there are actually many different environments rather than kind of being in your own surroundings all the time. And it's really helped to open my view on the world, I think.
So did you spend most of your time relocating within the UK, or did you ever go to a different country?
It's mostly throughout the UK. However, I did move to Cyprus for 2 years.
Amazing. Cyprus. Wow. How did you find that?
Definitely a lot different here, but it was amazing. I think the school was a lot better out there, and because it was mainly like it was like almost like a private school, but it's for all those like all us military kids who lived on the base. It was only kind of like just a school just for us, so we all felt like connected in a way throughout the school, and we all just kind of like bonded together because we all understood each other, which was a lot better.
And those schools tend to be more supportive because they understand that they've got a higher percentage of military children, and they will have staff that are military spouses that are working within the schools. Um, so they just get it completely. Um, so then it's really hard when you have to try and tell a school who doesn't get it why it's so important. um, so yeah, so that's why this program is twofold. It's we have to kind of do the work to again advocate for these young people, so that people like Ruby know where to go, or um, if they don't have any support structured in school at the moment, then they should do, and this is what you can do.
But Kelly, did you move around a lot as well? Did you relocate a lot within the UK? Because
Yeah,
you
so
mentioned
we
yeah.
the shortest posting we've had is a year,
Okay.
and the longest posting has been 4 years. We had to move when my daughter was 4 weeks old to a whole
Okay.
new area, and then yeah, every 2 years. And it's funny now, so the children get an itch, when they're like, oh, shouldn't we be moving this summer? Because it's like we always move. And also my daughter is brilliant. I don't know about you, Ruby, but brilliant at packing a suitcase. Like she will just be like, essentials, this is what I need, done.
Oh,
So she went on a school trip to Rome last week. She was like, Mum, just need two pairs of trousers, this t-shirt, that jumper, da da da, all in a little suitcase because she's just used to packing all the
wow.
time. Yeah, she's nailed that. So I
Wow,
don't know,
amazing.
Ruby, are you good at packing?
I can be, yeah.
And did you have any challenges that you encountered in your educational journey due to the relocation and your family's military lifestyle?
I think definitely because I think throughout like secondary school and stuff, it's hard when you're moving a lot. It's hard because you have to relearn the curriculum and or like relearn the same things, and you kind of miss out on topics that other people already have done. And I think recently, the biggest one of the biggest challenges I've had in my education is that when I moved to an area, I went to the only college that was available, and they only did a certain course. And so when I moved again during my time at college, I couldn't then move college because they wouldn't accept me, um, because they didn't do the same course. So I couldn't go to like a closer college, which also like hindered like my opportunities of going to uni.
When did you find the Forces Employment Charity in your journey?
I think it might be about a year ago now.
Okay, wow. And then, if, from your perspective, what were some of the key strategies or coping mechanisms that you learned that you were able to navigate through these challenges?
Something that really helped me is to find something like a hobby or something like that that just stayed the same throughout, like even if it's just a sport, because at least because when you have so much uncertainty in your life, it's nice to just have one thing that stays the same. And if you like that hobby, you enjoy it, or the sport, you know you can do that anywhere and it's not going to change.
I love that. What was the hobby or sport that you picked up?
I like swimming.
Amazing. Yeah. No, that's great. And what about your social life, your friends, and how did you maintain friendships throughout your relocations?
I think, well, I've had one best friend which I've known for 10 years now, and we both come from military families. So it's definitely been challenging, but we've kept in contact through socials and stuff like that. And we've even met up a few times, which has been really nice.
And what about any strengths or qualities that you have acquired that have helped you succeed despite these challenges that you faced, resilience, or, you mentioned adaptability being one of the biggest ones. But there are any other strengths or qualities that you feel that you have developed throughout your upbringing?
I definitely have developed like resilience and perseverance, just knowing that although it might seem hard now, as long once I settled in, it won't seem as bad as what it was, and it would definitely gets a lot better.
And I just want to go back into kind of forces employment charity and the role of the families program, which would be that is, you were part of the families program, and Kelly was your is your advisor. So just understanding and addressing the challenges military children face are, very essential to their well-being and success. So speaking about strategies and resources, the families program within the Forces Employment Charity kind of stands as another beacon of support, offering vital resources and services tailored to the needs of military children and young people and their families. Kelly Wales, who is our advisor within the families program, who was also Ruby's advisor during her journey. Kelly, could you maybe just provide just a brief overview of the families program and its mission in supporting military families and young people?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's twofold, really. So the first way that we offer the support is that one-to-one direct support that Ruby's been receiving over the past year. So everything from listening to Ruby and providing her with someone who's stable within the life. Like Ruby just explained, she had a hobby that she keeps wherever she moves to. Um, Registering for the families program means you get a one-to-one advisor that will stay with you up until you're 24. So no matter where Ruby goes to next, I will always be there for her until she says, Kelly, I'm okay, I don't need you right now, which I hope she doesn't need to in the near future because she's doing absolutely amazing. But it's that one-to-one guidance and a listening ear first off, to be able to give Ruby a voice. And that's what the Forces Employment Charity has done, has listened to her struggles, and the situation that not only Ruby's in, but her family as well, and said, right, okay, let's evaluate where you are, um, and try and help Ruby's journey within college, give her that other adult that can give her the advice. So for Ruby, it was she was set on going to university, whether that was a law, psychology, or criminology. So it was she knew where she wanted to, but she wanted to really hone it down. So we reached out to an employer who came online and gave Ruby a whistle stop tour on how to become a solicitor, what she would need to do, what volunteering she would need to expose herself to, how she could really add some value to her personal statement if going to university was what she wanted to do. So everything from one-to-one listening and mentoring and support to outsourcing and trying to find organizations that Ruby could potentially be an employee of in the future, and get her in front of those people and said, look, how does she get into this job? What does she need to do? What path does she need to follow? So that was some guidance that we were able to supply Ruby with. We also connected with Ruby's college, and made them aware of young Ruby and the challenges she was experiencing. She wasn't aware of a progression mentor at college. They weren't aware of Ruby's situation. So we opened those lines of communication. So if Ruby was in college, she had someone to go to speak to. And again, if she was struggling, they could then reach out to Ruby and the family and try and give them some guidance. And then down to applications. So Ruby sent over her CV. We went through that. She wrote her personal statement. She's written her university UCAS application forms. And all along the way, it's just confidence building and reassurance and just saying how amazing Ruby is and how, we mentioned perseverance. But wow, Ruby's undersold herself because she has really changed in the last year. So it would be great to kind of hear from mum and dad about how they feel you've changed, because I've seen a noticeable difference in just the way you're holding yourself and how articulate you're now talking, whereas before you were so quiet and kind of like not sharing what you've achieved so far, and how you're just such a strong young lady, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Sorry, and that's just on one side. So the other side, the other side of the support from the families program is that through the work that we've done on the pilot program, is working with schools and colleges and universities to basically identify who their children are, because they need to know who these young people are and why they need support. And Ruby's just summed up, lack of exposure to certain topics, which repeating certain topics over and over again, movement, overseas, transitioning back and transitioning between schools, is really hard, because it takes about 3 to 6 months for someone to really embed themselves within that setting, find teachers that they feel comfortable with, that they now can trust, friendship groups. That has a massive impact on somebody's getting up, and that positivity about going to school. So we are educating those educators who are educating our children. So because we're trying to say, look at how wonderful they are, take into consideration what they have been through, and those families that haven't been mobile, that are you know static in one area for a very long time, they have additional challenges. So their parents might be only seeing them at weekends, so they're having to go all through the week, anticipating their return, preparing for that return. Then they have to leave again on Sunday evening. So it's that emotional side that those children really struggle with. So talking to teachers, talking to careers leaders, and like I say, educating them on why these children are facing so many different difficult challenges.